And welcome back to another episode of the Huge Boob Corner. I am your host, Peter McLean. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting the show. And if you would like to keep supporting the show, please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to tell all your friends about it because I'd love to have more viewers. So today, my guest is an incredibly gorgeous woman who started out as a YouTuber, but now she has transitioned into a very successful content creator, influencer, cosplayer, and one of the most gorgeous self-proclaimed bimbos I have ever seen in my life. Please welcome Stephanie Michelle.
Ooh, what an intro.
Thank you. I try to get as much into that intro as I could.
That was great.
Thank you so much. Well, again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's honestly like you were somebody who, when I started doing the show, I was like to myself, if I can get you on the show, it would just be not just because obviously you're gorgeous and the boobs and everything, but just the conversation.
For sure.
Great guests. So, so I'd like to start with, you started out as a YouTuber.
I did.
And what kind of content did you do when you started it?
Well, so kind of funny story. When I first started off doing YouTube, it was because I was a really shy person. And I used YouTube to get comfortable, like talking to people, even though I wasn't really talking to people, but like getting comfortable just being in front of the camera, saying things like public speaking, all that kind of stuff. So I just started off talking about things that I was interested in, like comics, anime, and just like nerdy activities like that. And and it was just a really fun way to kind of jumpstart my career.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then at what point did you start to, because when did you start your bimbo journey?
Right. This is a great question because I have like a very non-conventional start and story to this. Okay. Because most people who are bimbos already know what that is, are into it, love it, embrace it from day one. Yeah. Me, I actually started off, got my first set of implants because I had very wide set hips and I wanted to have like the Jessica Rabbit hour shape, And goal in life is to look like a sexy cartoon character. I've always wanted to look like one. And it's just been
you
my
got
goal.
That Hollywood from Cool World going.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. Love her. Yeah. So I always wanted to do that. And so my first goal was like, okay, I'm just going to match my top to my bottom and kind of have more of an hourglass shape, very cute. And then as time went on, I was like, I kind of got a little greedy. I was like, I want more cleavage.
That's what happens.
It happens, But then as I was, doing a little bit more revealing photos on Instagram, like lingerie photos, shoots and stuff like that, I started to get like these comments online saying, oh, you're such a bimbo icon. And I was like, what is that? I've literally never heard of that before. I had no idea. And I thought it was kind of an insult because like I didn't know. And, I think like when you hear terms that you don't know and you don't really know what that means, you have a first like negative like...
Yeah, you think it's in some sort of negative way, pejorative.
You're just like, I don't know what that is. That must be negative. I don't like that. I'm not associated with that. No. And eventually I started to keep getting these like more and more comments about being a bimbo. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to look at what this is because if I'm being labeled this, I want to make sure that it's something I can approve of or disapprove of. I just need to know. And so I started researching it. I went to Reddit and I went to Tumblr and I was researching their really popular bimbo communities on there. And I noticed that it was so positive and it was so nice and friendly and women were involved with it. And it was all about embracing femininity, which is something I am very passionate about and always have been. I love, embracing all types of fashion, super glam makeup, like anything, crazy hair colors, long nails, the whole thing. That is me. And I didn't know that was associated with this community. And I've also been very upfront and honest with everyone, like, oh, this is what I got my work done. Because I never want to just say like, oh yeah, I just popped out like this. Like I'm very open with like being honest and and so for all of these women to be like, hey, this is what I got done and I think I look great. What do you guys think? And I was like, this is so great. And I started to really embrace the community because they were so welcoming and kind and really lifted me up and in a very nice way. So I was like, you know what? I think actually being a bimbo is a great thing. And that community filled with so many positive people really kind of changed my mind on that. Okay. Because it's also something that I'm passionate about as far as like when I was in high school, anything makeup, feminine, pink, bad. You know, because like you have this societal idea that like, ugh, the girl all in pink has no brain and she must be a vapid, horrible human. I'm going to go to the library because I'm smart. And while I do consider myself a very smart, intelligent person, I now see that that is so dismissive and cruel of us to dismiss anything that is like slightly non-masculine as like lesser or bad or whatever. And here's a community, the bimbo community, that actually says these are all valid things. These are wonderful things. We should celebrate all of these things because they are uniquely feminine, and that is powerful. So I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm so for this.
Well, I just don't understand how the idea that you can either be beautiful or you can either be intelligent. I don't know why you can't be both. This idea that women can only be one or the other.
Oh, exactly.
And the idea that nowadays, because obviously bimbo's usually been a pejorative to women, but how now it seems like the whole culture is around kind of embracing and reclaiming that word so that it's not meant to be a negative thing. It's meant to be a positive thing.
Yes.
And that you can have, both sides of, you can on the one hand be this, incredibly gorgeous and desirable and maybe hypersexualized woman, but then also be able to have, really in-depth, interesting, intelligent conversations about a lot of different things.
Right. Oh, totally.
So, and it's interesting because I'm like, the fans that you have, like, do you get ones that are like, obviously maybe the looks draw them in, but then they're like, wow, you're so awesome, or you have so much, interesting things to talk about. Yeah.
Okay. Like I feel like, a lot of my peers, my other model friends, that aren't necessarily like considered bimbos, but are just like, very sexy women online, they have a very, like they often say things like, oh, I wish my fan base was more nice to me, or like, oh, I had to block another person on OnlyFans for being really mean and disrespectful or whatever. Yeah. I rarely, if ever, like maybe I will block 1 to 2 people a year.
Wow.
On OnlyFans for being like not respecting me. I feel like because I have such a strong tie to the bimbo community, which already seemingly, of course, there's always an outlier. Okay. I know I hear the comments already being like, but actually there's always people. I get it. But in my view, there seems to be a more positive, consenting and kind fan base that I am so lucky to have fallen into, that where I will get comments daily saying like, wow, thank you so much for the content that you film, because at the end of the day, when I look at your hot videos, whatever, I get relief, I get joy, I get happiness. And then I am so happy to give that to someone. Yeah. To be the highlight of someone's day in a positive way, in a way that we both consent and it's all good, is wonderful. And especially, I think the world needs more bimbos now than ever. It's a really harsh place out there. Yeah. And I didn't even know the power that I had, that I was bringing happiness, joy, relaxation, peace to someone every Monday night or whatever, and that is powerful, and I'm so happy to do that for some people who don't have a partner or just like a very stressful day of work, Yeah. And, and it's really lovely. It's basically like being a real Barbie. 'Cause like I can have all these jobs, I can have all these opinions, but I'm also going to have the hottest shoes in the block, Well,
which is funny too, because you know how, when the Aqua song Barbie Girl came out, Mattel actually sued them because they thought, you're representing Barbie so poorly, as if she's stupid. And I'm like, I think you missed the point of the song.
Absolutely.
Like, it was just meant to be this fun song about Barbie and about the Barbie lifestyle. Yeah. But, and then it's funny that they did a cover for the movie last year, which...
I have so many opinions about that, because you were so right. I was like, when I saw that they included it in the Barbie movie, I was like, funny.
Really?
That's really interesting.
You didn't have a problem with it. You had a problem with it before, but now you don't have a problem with it now.
Interesting. But maybe that's just showing that as a society, we have grown to really embrace the bimbo culture. And we have changed our viewpoint, being like, oh, okay, yeah, women can also be, life in plastic. It's fantastic. And that's fine for them if they choose that,
Well, and the thing is, because, for instance, like, I've met multiple women and had multiple guests on the show that would cite Jessica Rabbit as one of their biggest influences.
Icon.
Because, and then you've seen stuff where like, whatever her real body dimensions are somewhat impossible, I guess.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like you can't actually have like a 6-inch waist or whatever she's got.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, when I have had other people on the show and that have, the giant boobs and all that stuff, and the fact that and when I see comments that try to say that, these women are unhappy, these women are like this, and I'm like, these women, you do what you want to do, and you get the procedures done, and the fact that you love yourself and you love what you do, to me is something that I like to promote, because it dispels these ideas that that there's some sort of ugliness or some sort of darkness under the surface, and the fact that you were able to start on your journey, and that it just, for you, it seems like it just got better and better as you kept going.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and the other thing about that is like, I love myself pre-boobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no issue with that. I thought I looked great then. I think I look great now. Like it's obviously, there's always those people who unfortunately have body dysmorphia and maybe take things a little bit overboard. But the majority of people, honestly, every time I've talked to, my fellow models, my fellow content creators, were always like, I just want big tits, and I feel great now. And it's like, cool. There's always this like weird thing where everyone has to like be weird detectives and be like, there's something wrong with this woman. No way can she actually want to like
look this
way. Oh, that's crazy. And it's like, I love anime. I love comics. I love nerd stuff.
Yeah.
And is it so wrong that, you see men at the gym who want to get like those big muscles, like, oh, I'm doing my Hulk workout. Or, it's cool for them.
Yeah.
Cool for them. Fine for them. But like, if I want to say, oh, I want to have, the Jessica Rabbit body or something like that.
Yeah.
People are like, there's something wrong with her. Oh no. It's like, huh? We all just want to look like cartoon characters, but in different ways.
Well, and the thing is like, I'll get asked, do I prefer, natural boobs, fake boobs? Do I prefer what kind of woman do I like? And I'm just like, you know what? I think women can be beautiful in so many different ways that I don't have a standard for how they should look.
Right.
And I think that, it's this idea that holding, and it's weird because, society standards are interesting because either, you're like, for a long time it was super waifish, super skinny, no curves at all. And then in the 2000s with like Kim Kardashian and like women like that, they started to be like, hey, let's have bigger hips, bigger butts.
Right.
Stuff. I always think huge boobs will always be in fashion, but that's me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just, the idea and what it seems like bimbo culture is a rebuke of saying there's only one standard of beauty.
Right.
And that, hyper femininity and this stuff is is something that a lot of people love. So, and I think that's wonderful that it's been it's had such a great effect, great positive effect for you.
Oh, absolutely. And it's been wonderful to see so many like millennials. I feel like we kind of started this trend like, oh, it's actually fine to like dress however you want and it's cool. And we're being toxic by like labeling certain women as bad or wrong way to be a woman. And then I love seeing Gen Z really embracing the bimbo culture and also like, thembos and himbos. And I'm like, oh, I love all of that.
Yeah.
And I love that there's some women who don't have any implants who just like are super hyper feminine, also consider themselves bimbos. I'm like, I'm the same with you. I love all titties, small, big, natural, whatever. It's great, even men titties too. Everyone has it and it's all great.
Nice.
So like, I've never seen a pair of titties that I was like, ew, they're all fantastic. And I am so happy to see the definition of bimbo grow and change and evolve and become so much more inclusive. I love that.
Well, and it's funny because there isn't actually like, because I've seen I think there's even subcategories to like there's goth bimbos that are, they have the dark hair, but they've got the huge boobs and they're very curvy.
Yes.
So it's like I don't know, because I know you're friends with Juliet.
I was just gonna say, yep.
I feel like she's kind of on that end where she's got that kind of body, but she's definitely got which is why the two of you together always looks like a nice contrast, nice complement of each other.
Right, and I love Juliet Michelle, Bishojo mom. She's one of my good friends, and it's so funny. We really are so different, but also the same person. We literally have the same birthday.
Really?
Legitimately. That is not fake. That is like for real. Yes.
That's
very
amazing.
strange. We also legally have the same middle name, which is Michelle.
Okay.
Another weird thing.
Yeah.
Weird. So and then, so we do have very similar body types as well. She's more gothy. I'm more like cutesy. Yeah. So I love when we get together. It's such a fun contrast.
Yeah.
And but like personality wise, we are so the same. It's really funny to be like, wow, the bimbos are like same hive brain. It's very funny.
I really hope to have her on the show someday. I think that she'd be an amazing guest.
I'm going to see her soon. So
nice.
So I will tell her to like hit you up, because I think. And
I hope she watches this episode. I hope she can get an idea,
Absolutely.
But so I'm curious, do you have a definition of a bimbo? Like for you personally? I know that there might be some people that, but like to you, what is a bimbo?
Well, to me, just because of how I was growing up, again, how I mentioned how I was surrounded by a lot of like toxic cultures of like, ooh, if you dress pink, you're a mean girl, a Regina George, and that's bad kind of a thing. No one wants to be that. Yeah. So I would say that being a bimbo is a rebellion. Mm-hmm. And because it's a embracing of everything that society tells you is not what you should do. You should not get plastic surgery. You should just love how you are. You should not wear bright colors and try to stand out and be the center of attention. Your makeup should be very small, natural. And, the bimbo does complete opposite of that. It embraces individuality. It embraces color and contrast. And also, as a woman, we're often told like, oh, sex is a taboo. You don't want to be a slut. Us being a slut is bad. Mm-hmm. The bimbo, again, embraces self-pleasure. It embraces being sexual. Yeah. And I think all of those things are a rebellion of society norms in a feminine package. And that's what being a bimbo to me is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that works. What would you say your favorite thing about being a bimbo would be?
I am allowed to completely be myself, and be embraced in that way. Like the more I'm myself, the more I'm open and honest with my fan base, or just like even wearing an outfit like today. I could never imagine wearing like this little, dress today like 10 years ago. I'd be too shy. I'd be like, I don't want people to look at me. Oh, that's scary, you know? But now I'm like, hi. And it's also been wonderful to see that there's been studies shown that the more outrageous outfits you wear, it's actually safer for a woman to wear. Interesting. There's a tie between being safe as far as in like, like I'm going to get real serious for a second because I think this is so fascinating. Okay. But like there's been ties between, people who unfortunately get kidnapped or taken and stuff. They're always wearing black. They're always wearing like very minimal clothing, very like little makeup. Very nondescript. Yeah, their hair is always like one color, black, brown, like very, that could be anyone on the street. When you describe someone, it's like, oh, there's a million people who have brown hair. I don't know. But people who dress like this are not getting kidnapped because I am so I'm memorable. Yeah, memorable, like by people on the street be like, oh yeah, I saw that weirdo. Like, yeah, I remember. So like even being a bimbo is like being more like safe, the world. And that is so interesting to me. So I really do want more women to be like, hey, wear that bright pink dress. It's actually, you're just going to feel good about yourself, but it's also good for you. Yeah. Which is so interesting. I love that. Well, and I want to, it's interesting because I want to go back to what you were saying, how, so you think Mean Girls was essentially an indictment against women, like the, what were they called, the movie? Mean Girls. No. But what, like their clique? Oh, their clique. Yeah, it was the God, what was it called?
They had the plastics, right?
Plastics, yeah. So it was like the popular girls, that's not it. But yeah, the plastics.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be like Lindsay Lohan's character's like the hero, and she's rejects all of whatever that they do. So do you think that movie kind of unfairly maligned women trying to embrace that kind of, that kind of bimbo, aesthetic?
Right. Well, I do think that there's something to be said about mean high school girls, because that is a real thing.
And
often,
did you ever see the movie Heathers?
Yes.
The 80s movie?
Yes.
That's like a dark version of Mean Girls. That's like, take Mean Girls and add some, sprinkle in some really dark stuff in there.
Yeah.
So, but
also, I gotta say that it was also, it's interesting. Mean Girls is also a great show because it also shows like Lindsay Lohan's character. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting everyone's character's names, but she's friends with the goth chick, right?
Yeah.
And it's also wrong of her to like, judge all of them, when she doesn't really know. She only knows Regina in the movie, but like the other girls, she's like, oh, they're so gross, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you don't really know them, so it's also mean of you to judge.
Yeah.
And then I look back at my high school Stephanie, who was like this very introverted art school nerd chick, didn't have a lot of friends, was not popular at all. And I thought like, wow, I was really judgmental of like all the popular girls. I didn't know them, but I assumed that they were vapid and shallow
like
and
all
mean.
bitchy and
but looking back, I'm like, I didn't really know them. Maybe they were really nice.
I don't know.
But maybe not.
Well, I was going to say another movie I was thinking of was a Jawbreaker with Rose McGowan.
Oh, fantastic!
Another
Love
one of those,
great.
in the pantheon of Mean Girl movies.
Yes, yeah.
Where I think underrated villain, in my opinion,
absolutely.
of Rose McGowan, where I feel like she just really just relishes every scene that she's in, where she gets to be like a really just mean.
I love it. She's great.
She's great in there. But
so I think it's interesting. However, I do really like that they resolved it. Like they gave, Karen and the other non-Regina George girls, like they redeemed themselves. They found their own personality, and I was like, that's great. They're not all bad. They're not all deemed horrible, you know? And I do love the idea of all of them women kind of, we're all going to have peace and we're all just going to like, you're going to do your thing. That's cool. I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah.
That's also cool. And that's where I would love to be, because I do think, all of us judging like, okay, well, I don't like that type of woman. For me, it's like, I'm obviously not a very conservative person, but I will fight tooth and nail for women who are conservative, whether religious or otherwise, for them to have their rights, always.
To live the life that they want to live.
Always. Because like, regardless of what you think about feminism, we're here because of it.
Yeah.
I can open up my own bank account because of feminism. I can drive because of that. Like little things like that. So I will always champion people who have completely different lifestyles than me to live their life freely.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, bimbos are on the front line of that. We're always going to be standing up for people's rights.
Yeah. And I'm curious then, so like what would be one of the most common misconceptions about bimbo culture?
That we are stupid.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so. I don't like that. I don't like when my one big thing that I really do not like when people say things that without knowing who I am, just they comment on my Instagram or something, they will say like, oh, look at this dumb bimbo or something. And I'm like, I don't like that because I feel like when the intelligence part comes into play, it feels icky to me.
Yeah.
And I listen, if you want to play it up and be like ditzy, and because I love being a ditzy,
don't you make content that kind of plays into that sometimes?
Oh, for sure. But like, that's obviously like, I'm playing it up, I'm having fun with it and stuff like that. But for someone to seriously like label me as ignorant or, not educated or dumb, those things bother me personally.
Yeah.
I know other people, it doesn't bother them, and that's totally fine. But for me, it's like, well, I see bimbos as being very emotionally intelligent, very understanding of society, and choosing to embrace things that society says these are not things to embrace. And that takes guts and it takes smarts to do that. You know?
And confidence. And being self-assured of yourself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And also, like, bimbos are very loving. We love everyone being their authentic self. And I feel like if someone is really ignorant and dumb, one of the first things they don't have is the capacity to love someone who's different.
Yeah.
And
well, a lot of empathy.
yes.
So-
EQ is so important.
Yeah.
And I do believe that like emotional intelligence is more important than IQ, actually.
Okay.
Because it's the idea to learn from other people that you maybe would not necessarily interact with, and have different lifestyles and stuff. And all of that takes a certain brain level to like understand and get. So that's why personally to me, I don't really like that. But I do know that other bimbos love embracing kind of turning off their brain and stuff like that. And hey, sometimes that's fun. Sometimes for sure, I get it. Sometimes I don't want to think about world either. It's scary.
Yeah.
Understandable. But like, if you're not playing in that fun, consenting fetish world, outside of that, I'm like, well, that's not really who I am,
Okay.
Yeah.
So then would you say that there is an element of performance in like, where because obviously it sounds like there's a good amount that is just you, but then obviously how much of it would you say do you put into the content, like you play it up a little more? Would it be
Sure. I would say like it's not very much different than me. Like just because, when I get into, making my videos, I definitely get into my mind space where it's like, ooh, that's really fun to like, listen, horny brain is different than real brain. To put it blankly.
Yeah. To me, it's the same as like drunk brain. Like your brain changes when you're horny.
Horny brain is so different than real brain.
Yeah.
Horny brain, I love turning off my brain. I love being like just a little pleasure unit doll for my fans and for me. I think that's hot. I love that. And that in that space, that is 100% real me. And that's when I make my content and I love doing that. I mean, I couldn't even stop working today. Today I filmed on the ride here. I did like a little video. It was like,
wow.
So apologies to any of the drivers around me on the freeway. You might have gotten a free show. I don't know.
Nice.
Just a little taste.
Yeah.
But so I love doing that. And then when it's just like on an Instagram photo, when I'm just, posting myself, that's when most of the time it's normal Stephanie brain where I'm like, oh, this isn't the right headspace for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's always a time and place for things like that.
So it's nice that you were able to fuse like the geekiness and the nerdiness that you used to be mostly, and then put that now into this incredible package that I'm sure it's are people surprised that you're like into super geeky things like that, or that maybe you might not have been aware of your content earlier?
Oh yes, definitely. I actually get I feel like most nerdy women, whether they are bimbos or not, also can agree with me on this, that we often get explained whatever we're interested in. Like if we say like, oh, I love X-Men, for example, because I do. Yeah. I will say like, oh, I love X-Men or something like that. And then people will go, okay, you need to read issue number blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, honey, babe, hold on now. I don't need an education.
Yeah.
I'm saying I love it. I know all these things. It's one thing if they're saying, hey, I'm interested in X-Men. Anyone have any recommendations? Totally different thing.
Yeah.
But I often get people who follow me who are like trying to educate me, and I know it comes from a good place. I know they want to share the joy, and I totally love that. But sometimes, after years of getting the same comments,
I know the story.
I know. I got it. Yeah. I know. I'm real. I'm here. I've been seeing this. Yeah. I have my comics from the 90s in my closet right now. We're on the same page, babe. You don't have to explain.
All right.
And so that gets a little annoying, but I also feel like that's just most women online, who are into nerdy stuff. It's like comes with the territory. Again, I don't think most of them are malicious. Most of them.
Yeah, no. They want to be helpful or they want to be encouraging because they they love to embrace. But again, it's this idea that, oh, well, did you realize that, in this artwork and this writer and this saga of everything. So so then I want to get, what did you think? Because the most recent X-Men film, I don't know if you consider Deadpool and Wolverine an X-Men film or if it's an X-Men adjacent film. Like, where would you rate that?
It's the closest thing we're getting right now. So let's just say, sure, okay. X-Men.
So what were your impressions of that film?
I had a really fun time. I loved it. So here I am. I'm very particular about my X-Men babies. They are something that is so near and dear to baby Stephanie growing up, feeling very isolated, feeling very alone. I had these comics and they really helped me through, a very isolated time in my life as a young teen. And I felt really embraced by these comic book characters. So for me, I have a very harsh level.
Yes. Not expectations, but you have, it seems like your standards are very high.
Very high. So like I am so annoying when it comes to the X-Men. So like most people would be like, it doesn't bother me. I wish I could be you. I so wish I could not take things as seriously as I do.
But you care so much about them.
Yes, I do. And I can't turn that off. So whatever. But yeah, there's certain casting choices that I personally would never make because I'm just feel so connected to these characters that I'd be like, that's actually not right, actually.
What?
And yeah.
And I'm gonna open up this box, the Channing Tatum gambit, which I know you are. From what I understand, it's a very.
Oh my God.
There,
Get me started.
It seems like there's kind of a battle in terms of you appreciate the fact that Channing Tatum loves the character so much and he wanted to do the character justice.
What a joy. Oh my gosh, like, if any cosplayer, I will say this, if any cosplayer was suddenly approached being like, hey, do you want to live out your dream to be your favorite character
X-Men
that you
character,
cosplay on the screen? Do you want to just go do that?
In a massive movie,
Oh my God, what a lifetime joy. And I'm so happy for him as a person because I do know that he has such passion for Gambit and it's been a long...
And he's been trying to get that going for such a long time.
So for me, as a human being, very cool.
Yeah.
So happy.
So happy to see that. Yeah.
Amazing. Like I wish I loved when Childish Gambino was like trying to be Miles Morales when they were thinking about rebooting the Spider-Man thing. I was like, oh my God, he's so passionate about that. I hope he gets it, And so whenever I see like actors that are really like, ooh, I'm really into this nerd character, I do wish that for them.
Yeah.
Because, hey, aren't we all just trying to live out our childhood fantasies and like play dress up? That seems so fun.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy for him on a personal level. But
there's a big but.
Huge butt. Huge BBL butt. Hashtag not my gambit. And I was talking to my other friend Vivka, who's also like very like a Vivid Vivka, shout out. We're also in the very same serious, very stupid high standards for X-Men.
Yeah.
We were both like, he needs to be sewer rat energy. I need a man that like is very spindly. He needs to be emaciated a little bit, maybe a little bit unhealthy looking. He needs to be, feels like he smokes a pack a day since he was 12. He's grizzled, but also handsome. And like, it just like, I was not getting this very like, little sewer rat energy, which, listen, Gambit, I love him. And if you think sewer rat energy is a bad thing, it's not. It just means like there's a certain kind of grime level to hotness level that I require in my Gambit interpretations. Yeah. And it also comes with almost like an athletic, like gymnast body, because that is part of his powers, is athleticism. And it's like, Channing Tatum, gorgeous man, he's also very bulky.
He's a big guy.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
I'm not here to body shame. I'm just saying that for me, in my interpretation of the character, I'm not getting that from him. And also, if he loves the character so much, why couldn't he just do the black and red eyes? I'm freaking out. I'm screaming.
That seemed like that was
such an easy thing to do with even CGI.
Yeah. You could just put that in there where it glows. So, it's funny. The description that you had remind me of when you describe, I think of like a young Iggy Pop. Like,
love that.
Because he was always very, very cut, very skinny.
Similar
definitely had
energy.
That,
very, that David Bowie, I'm thinking, those kinds of like, that kind of stuff. There's also, do you know The Boys?
I know the show. I haven't seen it. But.
Okay, so Frenchie, for all you viewers out here, I'm also thinking Frenchie vibes. For anyone who's seen The Acolyte, I forget the bad guy name in it, but the guy basically from The Good Place. He's basically a himbo, actually.
Okay.
He also kind of beefed up slightly for his role in The Acolyte, and I was like, "You're giving Gambit energy." Yeah. There's just certain characters where I'm like, "Oh." Yes, correct.
Okay.
But also, I think if we want the truest adaptation of the X-Men, I just make it animated.
Yeah.
You know,
It's easier.
It's just like we're talking about these huge fantastical powers and things like that, and I have such more of an easier suspension of disbelief when it comes to animation.
Yeah.
You know,
I think most people do.
yeah, and so I'm just like, hey, no shade to any of the actors, but I also think sometimes, you know, we all kind of get a little CGI'd out by all like the superhero movies, and it's just, it feels more natural to see it in animated form.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think the original show from the 90s, the X-Men show, was such a popular and such an iconic show.
Oh my God. Changed my life.
Next to maybe the Batman animated series,
Changed
probably
my life. Changed my life, both of them.
Two of the biggest shows of the 90s.
Yes.
So that, and there's and also, what did you think of Taylor Kitsch as Gambit in X-Men, or in the first Wolverine movie?
I actually haven't seen it.
Really?
Well, okay,
interesting.
Here's the thing. After the first X-Men movie came out, I was so excited. You know, I was little baby Stephanie in the theaters, like, let's go. My X-Men is on the screen. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. After the movies, I was like, my heart is destroyed and broken on the floor. I will never see one of these films again. And I swore it off for years.
Okay.
And then obviously when I heard that X-Men Origins Wolverine was horrible, I was like, well, I don't want to. Yeah, like, why bother? I've obviously seen like stills of him, you know, and I do now as an adult, I am going back and watching all of the X-Men films just because I'm like, I just want to see all the interpretations. And now that I've kind of put down my nerd barriers of rage, I can embrace them all. Yeah. So I do want to see it just to see it.
Just to see it, yeah.
You know? And also that's the original Ryan Reynolds Deadpool. So I also
that was the very first.
The crazy bad one with the no mouth and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do want to see that just to see like what were they thinking.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see, and I also kind of feel bad for him that he was not invited for this movie.
Yeah, they kind of looked him over, and it was just kind of like, yeah, we're not gonna mention that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I know that it was seen as like very poorly done, and I'm not trying to say like I want a poorly done interpretation of one of my favorite characters to be on screen again, but also like Elektra got her moment, you know? Yeah. And like these other things like Blade, I loved the Blade movies. I think they're fun and cheesy and cool.
Yeah.
I love that he was brought back, Wesley Snipes, like, oh, look, amazing.
Yeah. And Chris Evans as the Human Torch.
Oh yeah, exactly.
In that little book.
Truly, yeah. And so like they all kind of got their little we're
coming back,
period moment on their character. And I felt bad that like the original Gambit didn't get that,
yeah.
You know, but I'm also like, so I'm a little bit conflicted about that, you know?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And I can understand because the first X-Men movie when that came out, because I was in high school when that came out in 2000, and I was not a huge X-Men fan, but I still noticed things about the movie that were a little weird. Like I felt like, for instance, I feel like James Marsden was done so dirty as Cyclops. I think his character just, they really kind of, now he looked the part.
He did.
But I think that they made his character, because Wolverine was obviously like the main guy. And I want to get your takes on Anna Paquin's Rogue. Oh. Because I know she's another one of your favorites. Are you okay?
I'm just getting like rage sweats. No, I mean, again, no hate to Anna. I'm sure she's a lovely person. She's beautiful. But the way that they constructed her whole storyline was completely wrong. Rogue is a character that I am so emotionally tied to because growing up, I felt a lot of the feelings of not belonging and, you know, struggling with being open to especially for men, I was like so scared to date boys, you know, in high school, I was like, ugh. And I felt like a very kinship to her, not being able to touch and like her struggling with embracing who she is and like something is off about her and she can't really get help. And I felt very similar to her. And so there's a lot of things there. So when I personally saw her screen, it made me a little angry because it's just, Rogue is so confident, though.
Well, that's the thing. They turned her into a damsel in distress.
Like, she's not that way.
She had to be rescued multiple times in the film. I don't like that. Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is if she had been now to create the storyline of, well, Magneto wants to utilize her ability of absorbing powers to be able to you know basically turn all humans into mutants, that kind of stuff. But it just seemed like such a, because again, because the only thing up till that point was the animated show. So Rogue from the animated show was a very, very different character.
Yes, confident, sexy, wearing pink, super cute, flirty. Also had this sad girls part of her story. Didn't really let too many people in. She was very complicated. She's a very layered character. She's outgoing and then also very introverted at the same time.
Yeah.
I love her whole thing. And so to see none of that represented on screen was very heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
So especially since, this is the time when superhero movies were not a thing.
No.
So I was like, wow, we're getting women in power. We got Storm, we got Jean, we got Rogue. Hell yeah, we're going to do it. And then none of them were really this confident, badass women in the comics, which all of them are.
Yeah. Well, the team, they're all equal.
There's no difference.
The idea that I think for a long time it was Scott and Storm are the two leaders of
co-leaders,
the team.
Yeah. Which was when I read that changed my brain. Because I grew up in a very small town, a very place where there was not a lot of diversity. And for me to see not only a women leader in charge in the 90s, but also a black woman in charge who also wasn't just a strong black woman. She also had her her complicated life. And
she was a person. She
was a person. Exactly. Yeah. That's why I loved those comics, because all of those characters, especially the women, were multi-layered complicated, So I loved that they were all messy. The men were messy, the X-Men are messy.
Yeah, well,
that.
Yeah.
And to not see, especially the women's personalities not really carried over in the films, made me so sad, because it's I was not just thinking for myself, I was thinking for the other girls that came that maybe didn't know anything about X-Men. Maybe we're oh, there's some girls in the movie, that's cool, I'll go see it with their boyfriends or something, and then not feel a connection or not even wanting to pick up a comic book or watch the animated series.
Yeah.
I was damn, they're missing out. Because the X-Men especially is so for the girls,
Well, and it sucks. You look at, they made the decision, all their uniforms are going to be black. None of them actually have interesting, unique looking.
Right.
That's one of the things I really liked about Deadpool and Wolverine is that whole montage, the Power of Love montage when he's trying to find all of them.
Yeah.
And they did all the different covers of all the Wolverines.
Yes. Oh, that was so fun.
So you got to see the one where he's fighting the Hulk in the brown suit. You got to see him as the old man.
On the X.
The X cross.
That was my favorite.
The Apocalypse one where he's super hairy.
Fuzzy, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that even his iconic yellow outfit.
Yes.
They got to actually be when Hugh Jackman was doing interviews saying to finally be able to put on that outfit, he's this feels right.
Yes.
This feels the way the character should be.
I mean, comics are silly. We can't be silly anymore. I think that's another thing about maybe why I'm so into the Bimbo community is we're not afraid to be a little bit silly.
Well, and that's what the MCU did really well.
Yeah.
The MCU with Iron Man, with Captain America, they played into a lot of the more colorful elements, which also made it very different from DC, where DC was very dark and very drab.
Yeah.
It's there was almost no color palette. It's let's make it all gray and dark.
Yeah.
So that's why it seemed it was such a great. Now it's so. I mean, are you hopeful for what Disney and Marvel can do with the X-Men going forward, or are you still kind of that the high standards are because you really like X-Men 97.
I was just going to say, I am hopeful in the way that I loved X-Men 97. I thought that was a beautiful love letter to X-Men fans, new and old, and totally captured what I wanted to see in a modern X-Men take, So I'm very thrilled with that. I know, because I know a friend of a friend of a friend, I know that certain Disney execs were very surprised by the success of X-Men 97.
Okay.
They really were go,
you do your little show.
Do your little show, whatever. Maybe it'll make some money. That's why at Comic-Con this year, there was no X-Men exclusives, because they didn't plan on doing that, because they didn't think that anyone would want it.
Well, yeah. And
surprise!
Well, and now they're in an interesting spot, because since Deadpool and Wolverine did so well.
Yes.
And it's Hugh Jackman's 55, I think.
Let him rest.
Well, and the idea was this is his most successful outing in a film as Wolverine.
Right.
And now it's like, it's because some people are like, should they recast him?
Right.
Should they have, X-23, Daphne Keene's character take over?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do with him? Because, and Hugh Jackman's been in the role now for a quarter of a century. And it's like, he's great in it. And it's just like, but I feel like now they're in a dilemma where if they recast him, is that going to, they kind of set that up though with Henry Cavill, the Calverine. I don't know if you like that little bit.
I thought that was very fun.
Yeah.
My favorite Wolverine is a Wolverine we've only seen in a little cameo is like, I think it's really cool that we have a short king who gets all the babes, okay?
Yeah.
Wolverine is getting all of the honeys and he's short. If that's not a positive role model for some young men out there, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
He is, I love the fact that he is short and he is yet powerful. No one ever really makes fun of him for that. And he always gets women who are over 6 feet. He never has any internal discussions of that.
Yeah.
He's just
he doesn't have insecurity about his height.
No, he doesn't care. And I think that's so wonderful. So I would love to see, while I understand that Hugh Jackman is wonderful in this role, I also do think that it would be a positive male role model to see someone who is shorter and yet powerful, strong, able to love many, many women and is also kind to them, and like he's a great role model. And I think that his height really is a huge part of that. And, now you look online and there's some people who are like, don't understand that Wolverine is short. So like they're feuding, people who just watch the movies are feuding with the people who know the comics.
Yeah.
And it's like, see, now we have an issue because the movies created this false narrative of Wolverine being this like, I'm the perfect Superman.
Yeah, 6 foot.
6 foot, super strong. Nothing's ever wrong with me. I get all the women. I'm wonderful, which, that's not necessarily so true. And I think that while it might be scary to not continue on with someone who's obviously bankable, I think that there might be something positive for the young people coming in to see a new X-Men movie and seeing someone who isn't perfect Hugh Jackman, the ideal man,
Yeah. Well, and with the multiverse, obviously, there's
there's all
possible
possibilities. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Which, you love that first moment where it's like, the comics accurate one where he comes off the bar stool.
So cool.
And he's like, hey, comics accurate, look at you. Just all that stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was really fun. Yeah, so I liked that.
All right. So it's cool because it seemed like the movie was like a love letter to almost all the Fox Marvel properties.
Yes.
Because even though Blade was, I think, New Line, so it wasn't part of Fox, but still.
Yeah, I don't understand that one too much, but whatever. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's funny because now there are calls, people want a fourth Blade with Wesley Snipes, even though you have the Mahershala Ali one that's had issues now for 5 years to get off the ground. And now this movie comes along, doesn't make it easier because now you have the reinvigorated Wesley Snipes fan base.
There can only ever be one Blade.
I know. So
I was really here for that. Those movies are like, I love a cheesy superhero movie.
Yeah. Well, the first one is one of the, I still think one of the best comic book films ever made.
I love the Blade movies. I think they're fun. Yeah. I think when superhero movies have fun with it and are not afraid to get like a little bit, over the top, a little camp.
Yeah.
I think that's the closest thing we're going to get to comic book because comic books are camp. They're very silly. They're soap operas.
Yeah.
Embrace that cheese.
Yeah. And
it's okay.
And there's some that have tried to, because again, like obviously, Batman's probably the best counterexample where Batman's a very dark character and it's a very dark world he inhabits. Granted, he's got, that he balances out with things like the Joker and these kind of over the top, just incredibly flamboyant villains that he gets to fight. So like there's that new Penguin show that I think is debuting. I don't know if it's this week or with Colin Farrell. But yeah, there is a sense that, and it's interesting because there's a sense of fun that I feel like comic book films lost.
Yes.
Because maybe because they thought it was too silly. So like, for instance, today I don't know if you ever saw it. It was a 90s movie called The Phantom. With Billy Zane.
Seen it? Of course. Billy Zane. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Of course I've seen it.
Yeah, and you see it and you're like, he's wearing a purple like skin tight suit. It's very,
I was here for it. I was like, yes, I love this. I don't care. I love.
And the 90s stuff where you had The Shadow with Alec Baldwin.
Oh yeah.
And then there was just back then the movies were still very fun. And then but then I also think that the studio's gotten really obsessed with the universe, with the creating each movie as a chapter leading to another thing, and it would be nice if they could just kind of go back to the roots and just have fun. Like that's what I think Deadpool and Wolverine did. They just had a really fun time making that.
Fun. And also, like, I think, if I'm going to be completely honest, I think that we should have a TV show. You know, I really enjoyed WandaVision because before in the movies, I didn't really know Wanda from the movies. You know, I didn't really get a sense of who she was.
Yeah, she was always a supporting character.
She was just kind of like in the background. But, you know, in the comics, I knew who she was. But then when she had WandaVision, you're like, oh, she's having an emotional breakdown. She's like dealing with grief. This is really complicated. This is very interesting. I'm into this as a character study for like how people perceive grief as a human characteristics. We all go through it.
Yeah.
She's perceiving this as a superhero would, and that's so interesting to me. What a great story to tell. And that can only be done in a TV show setting, right? And I just think, I keep saying, X-Men is baby's first a soap opera. We need to just make it a soap opera. For me and a lot of other X-Men fans, the action, secondary.
Really?
You know, like, it's great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I love a good fight scene. But really what we're here for, the character moments. We're here for the love triangles. We're here for like, you know, the different ideologies clashing, you know, equality, all of these like other things that actually apply to our society that are spoken about in comic books that we can apply to our lives, can talk about it with our friends, our families, saying, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think this is right? Why is this person wrong? Why is Magneto right? Why is Professor Xavier wrong? Or vice versa, you know? These ideologies, essentially, if you boil them down, they're applicable to everyone's life, you know, and we can learn so much from that. And I wish that comic books, movies today, just made TV shows where we can really get into that meat and explore that instead of just being a vehicle for the next CGI fight. You know?
And that's the issue, because with comics, you can tell these stories have been going on for decades. So you have time to do these these long storylines that might not be very action oriented, that are very character oriented.
Right.
But with a movie, it's like, well, we're making these 2.5 hour films that have to keep. Like, you know, I think the Civil War saga in Marvel was a much bigger story, and it included the X-Men. You know, which they couldn't do at the time because they didn't have the rights. But, so I can understand the difficulty. And I know that obviously we could keep going on this subject. So, but I'd like to get to, I think, one of our favorite topics in the world, which is huge boobs.
Yes. So
I want to ask you, you don't think, because it seemed like you kind of answered this, but do you think that huge boobs are a major component of bimbo culture?
I believe that it's a founding father, if you will. Because I also do think that there are some valid bimbos out there who have no augmentation, who are very small cupped, and I think that they're just as bimbo as the next girl. So I do think it is a unique hallmark of the culture that the majority of women do have or want bigger boobs to really get into that, like, you know, over-exaggerated look. But I'm also not going to say that every bimbo has to be that way. But I do think it's definitely a very qualifying
But you love them for you.
Oh, I do.
So when you started going bigger, what was it that, like, was it just this immediate, oh my God, I love them so much, they're amazing? Is that?
Yes. So the first set, I've had 3 augmentations. Ooh, 3. There we go. 3. 3 augmentations. And the first set was just kind of like, you know, I wanted something just a little to match my hips and just, you know, nothing crazy. And then I was like, I actually want more cleavage. Like, I actually want to look like I'm wearing a Victoria's Secret push-up bra, you know? And so then I got another augmentation. And then I was like, well, you know, over time, because gravity, unfortunately, they started to just sag a little bit. And any women out there, ooh, the boob sweat. The boob sweat right here, ooh, not fun. It is not a fun feeling. Like, if you're hunched over in your computer doing this, which is me most of the time, not fun. So then I looked into getting an internal bra.
Okay.
Love that. Because now, when I'm not even wearing a bra, or clothes for that matter, I look like I'm legit a hentai anime character. I'm just like, the they're perky, they're up, they have a lot of cleavage. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I was really excited to get that and get that permanent push-up. And it's such a fascinating thing for me too, because that comes from how they make the internal bra. Nothing gross, don't worry. It's made from cartilage.
Okay.
So it's just it's made from collagen. Collagen from, I believe, a pig. And basically, I might be wrong. I don't know. Ooh, maybe. But basically, it dissolves into your body. It's totally safe. It's like 100%. It's just normal collagen that your body already produces, and it's fine. So I love when plastic surgery has a natural element or an element that will complement your natural body in some way. And so that's why I thought the internal bra was so fascinating, because it's just building up my already tissue. It's not like an actual wire or like a plastic wire in my skin.
Something foreign to your body.
Yes. And so I did really love that. And it gives me that, long time lift. And I love that.
Nice.
It's so fun.
So then you got so where are they right now in terms of the, first off, what kind of implants do you have?
Yes, I have overfilled saline, 22 cc's,
okay.
22,000.
Okay,
100. Sorry, not 1,000.
That would be incredible.
That would be so cool. Not me, though.
Yeah.
Numbers are hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's so funny, too, because I didn't really have a set goal. I was just kind of I want it to be more round on top, is basically what I told my doctor. Yeah. My doctor is so cool. Shout out Dr. Chow in San Diego. Prime Plastic Surgery, amazing. Highly recommend. But it was really cool because my husband, Justin, he worked in the surgery unit at a hospital many, many moons ago, video recording surgery. So he's very cool with all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's telling my doctor that. And my doctor's like, okay, cool. I'll FaceTime you in during the surgery and you can tell me how much to pump her up.
Nice.
So he's FaceTiming in and the doctor's like, okay, just say when, and pumping me up. And Justin's like, I have so much power right now. I could go as far as I wanted. But no, he knew what I wanted. But it was great. Yeah. And I just love that story because it's so unique that a lot of people would love to basically have that a personal conversation with their doctor. But yeah, it was really cool that he was able to do that for us because we got the perfect size that I wanted.
Okay, so you're at a point where you don't want to go bigger. You're fine.
I love the size. It's totally what I wanted, and I love the amount of cleavage I get. And yeah, I think to go any bigger, I don't know. I'm really happy.
Yeah,
what can I say, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like if I'm happy, I'm just going to stay where I'm happy. You know, I feel like I've already had 2 other surgeries. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, I don't love being in surgeries.
Yeah.
It's not that fun.
It's not the fun. Yeah, not the most fun part.
It's like getting a tattoo. Like the idea of getting a tattoo, so fun. Love creating the idea. Actually getting that tattoo, no fun.
No.
Hurts. Ouchie.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, I love if I can I feel like I'm happy where I am and the less going under their knife because the recoveries are just nasty. I don't like that.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah. Well, and that's great because again, it's interesting that because I've met other models that they want to just keep going bigger and that's the thing.
For sure.
Because they have the expanders.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think also makes it a lot more. It's a lot easier to want to go bigger when you can go bigger. Whereas for you, it's like you've got implants, so it's a matter of taking out old ones, putting in new ones, or
that's a whole thing.
Yeah, it might be a much bigger production.
Right. But yeah, so I'm just happy where I am. And so I'm just really thrilled.
And your fans don't have hey, are you going to go bigger? Or are they?
Oh, every day.
Really?
Every day they ask me, which is so fair because again, I know a lot of big boob models do often want to go bigger until the end of time, basically. Yeah. That's awesome. Totally cool. I was actually working with another huge boobed model, Demora. Do you know her?
Yeah.
Has she been on the show?
Well, I'm hoping that she's going to be on it pretty soon.
Okay, cool. She's so fantastic.
Yes,
she's wonderful.
Yes.
So we did a set together, I think last year. She's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I had one pose where I was like, ooh, I will hold up your boobs. Let me tell you, my hands were shaking. Yeah. Because I was like, oh my God, these bitches are heavy. Whoa. Yeah. And congratulations to Demora's back. Round of applause for her back.
Well, and she's short.
She's short. She's short.
Her boobs make up a lot of her body mass.
Yeah, and so I'm like, you are so strong. So when I was like just feeling, again, I just had my hands under her massive boobies, and I was just like, posing for a photo, not even like doing anything, just like posing.
Yeah.
My hands were like, oh my God, this is heavy. And you know, I love lifting weights. I try to work out, but like I was really like, I did not realize how heavy they are.
Yeah.
So that kind of was like, I was like, you guys are so strong and valid, but I know that could not be me. Yeah. my back cannot handle that. Well, so yeah.
And that's awesome that you got to that point where you've got the size you want and the look you want.
Yes.
So what would you say your favorite thing about having huge boobs would be?
I love the way I look in all of my outfits.
Okay.
It's immediately like, sometimes I'll wear, a baggy shirt to bed, whatever, But then when I put on like a cute top, I'm like, oh, and I just love that. And I love that it just gives me a confidence boost. I love that it's also a topic of conversation, to be honest. Like with, me and my friends, we make so much jokes about it, like in a very fun way.
Yeah.
It became part of my personality.
Yeah.
And
you came on the show
exactly
as a result?
Yes. And so I love that. I love that it's they're great pillows.
Yes. I think boobs make the best pillows.
They do. My husband and also my cats.
Great, big fan.
Paws up and thumbs up. So I love that. And and I also think I always, every time I'm naked, I always, I'm like checking myself out. And for me, as someone, again, growing up, hated my body, didn't really hate, looking back, I'm like, I was cute.
It wasn't that bad.
No, I don't know what was going on with me, but looking back, I looked great. But at the time, I was like, oh, I'm not cute, blah, 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 whatever. Now I just wake up feeling wonderful about myself. That's one less thing for my brain to like focus on and overthink and overanalyze. I love it. I love that they're so jiggly and bouncy. I feel like it adds, again, to my personality.
They're very fun.
Yeah.
The most fun body part, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah. I can imagine you waking up every morning just being like,
exactly.
Hello.
I'm like, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. How are you doing? Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, and I mean that's that. Yeah, again, I think that the fact that people just don't understand because people are like, what, why do you like huge boobs? I'm like, why do you not like them? What's not to like about them?
Come on, guys.
But then again, I'm biased. I know there are people out there that like all different kinds of body parts, but boobs to me, boobs to me have always been that one body part that just is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I never get tired of admiring them on whomever.
Exactly. And you shouldn't. And you should admire them more by subscribing to this channel.
Yes. Thank you very much. Listen to her. Listen to boobs. So the Bimbo wisdom.
Yes.
And you love, the fact that you love huge boobs on other women too.
Love it.
Like, again, when I think of, I imagine like when you and Juliet will get together and it's just, I mean,
oh my God.
Even if you're not shooting stuff together.
No, we're just like, we'll just rub each other's boobs and we're like, hi.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's becomes so much more fun to have huge boobs because we're like doing all these like silly things, or sometimes, like we'll be reaching over and I'll like hit her boob and I'm like, ugh, and it's fun. It's silly. And if it also is a very sexy thing, but also like it goes into like funny moments too, because they're big, and also I just think that like we can share fashion with each other, and dresses always look great on us. It's just there's so many like endless things. To boobs. Very cool, very fun. Check them out.
Yeah, it's a nice and it's a nice commonality. I feel like women that have huge boobs are kind of in this, this nice little club with each other that even if you never had met somebody, if you saw a woman walking like in an airport or something, she had huge boobs and she's not, I feel like you just do like a like a nod, nice. Just like we know.
What's up, girl?
Yeah. So but yeah, it's like, do you have a preference on like, I mean, do you prefer natural? Or is it all like on other women, or is it's all like dependent on the person?
So my job is basically touching titties, because I be working with a lot of other models and stuff. So I felt many a tit. I felt natural. I felt small, big implants, big naturals, whatever. honestly, I don't think I have a preference because
Really?
they all feel great.
Yes, they do.
So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm just happy to be with boobs. If
Yeah.
boobs are in the room, I'm happy. I like
You and I,
So,
you and me both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think I only have a preference on my body,
Okay.
you know? And I really like the look of fake.
The enhanced. Yeah.
Yes, the enhanced look on me. And I also notice it like on other girls, for example, Juliet and Demora, like I see how great it looks on them, you know? And I'm like, oh, love that for you, girl.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, it's the confidence.
Yeah.
If you're confident with your boob size, no matter what size you
Yeah.
are, and you're owning it from tiny titty to wombo,
Yeah.
mama,
To massive. Yeah.
yeah, like that's honestly what I'm attracted to.
Okay.
If you are the confidence that comes with your titty,
Nice.
I love that.
And I just want to. Did you have? I mean, aside from like a couple of cartoons and hentai and anime, were there other models that like really super busty models that you just really loved or that were influences on you to want to? If you can, if there's any.
I would say the only one that kind of comes to mind because again, I was like I guess I was really into the Girls Next Door Playboy.
Yeah.
When in my formidable years, but like looking back on them, they don't really have like these crazy big titties.
No, they weren't that huge.
But at the time, they were talked about like they have these crazy huge boobs, you know?
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, whoa, I think that looks cool. You know, Holly Madison has enhanced boobs and Bridget has natural big boobs. And both of them, I was like, whoa, those are both my favorites of the girls.
Okay.
So like I really loved both of those, you know, a big natural and a nice enhanced one as well. So I loved that. I guess it would be both of them as real people that really influenced me.
Nice. Well, yeah, and it's funny because when people think of huge boobs, they think of C's.
Yes,
like they look of someone like, say, Sydney Sweeney, and she's got really beautiful boobs.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
But, for people that are into huge boobs, they're like, yeah, they're good. They're fine.
All right,
they're there.
And also, I also should mention, because I'm an LA girl, Angeline,
yeah, there you go. Yeah, she was.
I grew up with her. I am from Southern California, born and raised. I'm one of those weirdos that was not a transplant.
Yeah.
So like for me, anytime we would drive up to LA, she would,
she was a bimbo pioneer.
She mother.
Yeah,
truly.
like she's like the godmother of that
she's
whole.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love her. She's an icon and a legend. So I'd
her
say
pink Corvette. That she's
so great. I love her. I think that it would be also Angeline as well, who actually does have bigger titties, I think. And then also Elvira as well.
Yeah, Elvira, she was a great one.
Also kind of a goth bimbo.
Yep, yeah.
So, but again, none of those in today's knowledge and in my knowledge are now considered huge boobs.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like for me,
for that time.
Yeah, for that time, for me, when I was really noticing like bodies and like, oh, I want to look like that. That to me was like what stood out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, I hate to end it because we didn't get to everything I wanted to talk to.
Next time.
That means that I hope you want to come back.
I do. This is so fun.
That would be amazing.
Yay!
So anyway, I hope you had a wonderful time.
I did. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
I'll be back soon. And thank you guys for watching.
And to all of you out there in Huge Boob Land, we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.